See how you're doing with the polar graph. This is a quick little skill check. If you're having trouble with this video I'm making right now is something you should go over a couple, 3 times until you get good at it. You will see finding the 4 values or 3 values on the test coming up. So if you want to do this, let's not do this with a graph. Let's do it without a graph first. What I'll have is I'm going to have 2 of these r's will be positive, 2 of the r's will be negative if you want to do it this way. I like to go from here to here first. So I'm going to add pi, which is how many pi over 3's if I'm adding pi's? That's for 2 pi, but for adding pi, it's going to be how many pi over 3's? 3, yep. So we're going to add 3 pi over 3. So that's going to make this one 4 pi over 3. Are you okay with that? So you're going to have 2 positive r's, 2 negative r's. Great. And then to go from positive to negative, you add or subtract pi. Couldn't be simpler. Then for each of these, if you're going from positive to negative, something pi over 3, something pi over 3. Now, to go from here to here, you're going to add or subtract 2 pi, which is going to be how many pi over 3's? If it's 2 pi? 6. So I'm going to subtract 6 pi to get down to this negative. So subtracting 6 pi over 3 will be how many pi over 3's? What's that? Negative 5 pi over 3. Yep. Try this one. We're going to add or subtract 2 pi, which is same as 6 pi over 3. So 4 pi over 3 minus 6 pi over 3 is negative 2 pi over 3. Let's see what's happening on the graph. So if we go out 3 pi over 3, you're going to be right here. So for this one here, what I did is I found out where this was, which was 4 pi over 3, and then put a negative, which would get me back here. For this one, instead of going pi over 3, we went negative 5 pi over 3. And then for this one, we were down here, right? And so this was 4 pi over 3. This will be negative 2 pi over 3. Isn't that doable? Doable? Which method do you like, the graphing way, or do you like just the number sense way? You decide. All right, so we're going to do that with this one, number 2. You're going to have 2 negatives and 2 positives. Okay, this one's starting out at a negative. So what are you going to do to get down to here? Add or subtract what? Pi. So how many pi over 4's is that? For pi, 4. So negative pi over 4 plus 4 pi over 4 is 3 pi over 4. Very good. And then all you have to do with these is to add or subtract 2 pi, which is 8 pi over 4. So what's negative pi over 4 plus 8 pi over 4? 7 pi over 4. And what is 3 pi over 4 minus 8 pi over 4? Negative how many pi over 4? 5 pi over 4. So here's what we did. We went, I'm going to go 5 pi over 4, 5 negative pi over 4, and the negative is going to end up here. So if this is negative 5 pi, this is negative pi over 4, and then I went negative, goes back here. That's the same as out 5, 3 pi over 4. That looks good. And then to get this one, you go the opposite direction, which is 7 pi over 4, and then flip over. This one is the same as negative 5 pi over 4, 5. I think the graph way is confusing, really. I think the number way is pretty easy.